Hello, the Champions League returns, so we're going to be dealing with it. We'll talk about Real Madrid, about Barcelona, about Atletico Madrid and their poor form in the start of the season, about Juventus, 2 goals from Ronaldo of course, and they meet in Valencia, but also about Spurs. What's going on there? Let's start with Real Madrid. The 2 games that Real Madrid had to play, the serious games, against Atletico Madrid in the European Super Cup and against Atleti Bilbao in San Mamés, they haven't managed to get to the best. So there already are a lot of question marks about this team, and it's absolutely early because one thing that Lopetegui is doing now is giving time to all the players. Ceballos, for instance, who didn't have many minutes last season, is trying to build the confidence of Bale, even though I was surprised that he was actually replaced in the second half against Atleti Bilbao. Let's stop with that for a second on Bale. Why replaced? He's a man of moments, a man that perhaps don't appear for 90 minutes constantly, but he has touches of genius, or at least of quality, that can turn a game. So, and physically, he's fine to be playing almost 2 games. That's what the physical coaches of Real Madrid are saying. But even so, despite the fact that Benzema, for instance, had not shot on goal in the whole game, he was left on the pitch while Bale was replaced for Lucas Vázquez. They were looking for more freshness down the wing. Marco Asensio is started 4 games in the league and is doing well. But as I said, at that point where Real Madrid had to go a step up against Atletico Madrid, and of course they were destroyed in the extra time, and against Atleti Bilbao, they just didn't manage to get to that level. As part of that rotation that's going on, where Lopetegui is giving time to everybody, well, you could see that Ceballos was not the kind of player that they needed against Atleti Bilbao. Casemiro came in, all of a sudden Kroos was in front of him, felt more freedom and was able to influence the game further up the field. Casemiro pushed the team forward as well in the way he works without the ball. He's brave, he goes for pressure high when it's needed. And of course the centre-backs help him, Casemiro, to build up from the back. And then it was more difficult for Atleti Bilbao to actually stop that avalanche of football from Real Madrid. Even so, it was a draw for Real Madrid. Roma haven't started the season very well. 1 victory in 4. I think they're missing Nainggolan, certainly Strootman as well, the strong midfield. And Sonsi hasn't made an impact yet, Pastore either, but I'm sure they will. And it'll be interesting to see Justin Kluivert if he managed to get some minutes on the pitch, perhaps in the second half. In any case, Real Madrid seems favourites for this one, but they need to make an early impact, because if they don't, if they drop points here, questions will remain about who is going to replace Cristiano Ronaldo in the big moments. I think it's a chance for Bale to impress, but we will see. Barcelona play PSV. Just a quick note about PSV. They've got in Irving Lozano, a very fast forward. And in Berwin, I think it's 21 years old, somebody who could become really big. He's small, technical, fast. He just dribbles from the left-hand side. So Berwin will be meeting whoever is the right back generally. Now is Sergi Roberto, because Semedo has had the chance to impress, so did Rafinha, but neither of them impressed at the weekend against Real Sociedad. It was a very poor performance. Coutinho was on the bench, but when he came on, everything changed. And then with Coutinho and Busquets, this was a slightly better Barcelona, but it was clumsy. It was easy for Real Sociedad to stop them with 2 banks of 4. The 4 in the middle were 4 centre midfielders, and they stopped. Zurutuza, for instance, played in that position on the left-hand side of that 4 in midfield, which is where the right backs, especially Sergio Roberto in the second half, but especially Messi too, comes for his diagonal. He starts on the right and then comes across, and Zurutuza managed to stop that. So without that, they needed something else. And Coutinho came in and yes, added, forced Real Sociedad to drop even deeper. Luis Suarez scored, of course, and Dembélé again. The 3rd goal in 3 games, 4 goals this season, the same amount as Messi. So you can see that Barcelona are still not hitting all cylinders. But interestingly enough, criticisms from Valverde, whose first question, the one that he received in the press conference, was, why did you bring Arturo Vidal in the second half? Because at that point Barcelona started playing worse. Actually, they dropped deep, and it's the third time that Vidal replaces Dembélé. And I think Valverde wasn't expecting that after a difficult victory against Real Sociedad away in the new stadium, which looks very impressive, by the way. And he just got a little bit iffy about it. But in any case, that's the kind of analysis that is taking place in Barcelona. With Arturo Vidal, Barcelona becomes a conservative team. They don't defend with the ball, they defend without it. And that's not when they are at their best. I think deep down, the thing that upset Valverde is that there are accusations in certain camps that he's far too conservative for Barcelona. I think he's effective, he is practical. So Atletico Madrid meet a Monaco that yet again has been taking, they've taken away the best assets. Moutinho, certainly, Fabinho, of course, Gesa as well, and I'm forgetting one. And Lemar, of course. This is Lemar's derby. Lemar's gone to Atletico Madrid, offers something different to Atletico Madrid, but this Atletico Madrid, they're struggling at two things mostly. One, defending, which is quite amazing because that's how they control games, by not keeping the ball, by just waiting to counter-attack. Costa is not scoring, Griezmann is not at his best. At the moment, Lemar hasn't impressed either. Koke is poor too, and Saul cannot do everything. Saul still impressing. Keep an eye on him, of course. I think he's going to become one of the best midfielders in the world pretty soon. But this Atletico Madrid just is a little bit too predictable right now. Not enough influence down the wings. And generally, it's Atletico Madrid that there's reasons why, all those reasons that I'm mentioning, why they only got 5 points in the league. Godin is in a very poor state at the moment. I think he lost possession 20 times. But in the game at the weekend, they should actually have won. They should have won. They had enough chances, hit the post as well, attacked, but it wasn't to be. Eibar got the 1 point, and this Atletico Madrid needs to get the 3 points straight away, because they admit themselves that they actually won the league, which means that they have to keep the pace of Barcelona. That is very, very high. By the way, when Barcelona gets top of the table, not since 2006, Real Madrid have managed to turn that around. What I mean by that is, if Barcelona, Madrid, Atletico Madrid, whoever, they're fighting for the league, but Barcelona gets first, what you get there is that they tend to win the league at the end. Not even Real Madrid. Not since 2006 they managed to stop that kind of pace from Barcelona. First, let's mention that, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo scored 2 goals against Sassuolo. Finally, his first 2 goals in Serie A, and 3 goals if you count in his first friendly. Again, the Primavera side of Juventus, but because I'm saying he's scoring 40 goals in all competitions, and I'm counting the friendlies too. But you could see that he had already become, before the Sassuolo game, the striker that has shot on goal more than anybody else. That average of about 9-10 shots on goal per game is what perhaps Real Madrid are missing at the moment. You get Benzema shooting about 3 or 4 average per game, and Bale as well, 3, 4, 5. So you can see the influence of Ronaldo, of course, in any side. So now that he's taken the anxiety away, that's what he said himself, you will expect more goals from him. He goes into the Champions League against Valencia, a team that almost signed him. It's all in my book, my biography, that of course is coming out in Italy, to great controversy. If you want to follow that. It's quite interesting. Maybe I'll do a video on that later. But anyway, it was a Juventus that perhaps didn't play the best football, but they had chances and they kept going and going and going until the goals came. Sassuolo was a little bit disappointing. Yes, they tried at times to play the brand of football that they're famous for, building from the back, pressure high, but Juventus were far too superior. That's the problem of Serie A at the moment. Juventus are well ahead of the rest. Douglas Costa, I don't know if you've seen the video, but he just went mad, and he should have been sent off about 3 times. but eventually he was. And it was interesting how VAR reacted quite late to all of that, and the referee wasn't told exactly when it happened, when he spit or when he gave the kiss of Kirby, they say in Merseyside, went like that. And all that should have been obviously reasons enough to send him off. Eventually he was, and he apologised afterwards as well. Valencia, what's going on? Well, they lack a little bit of intensity. Yes, they don't concede a lot of chances, but up front at the moment, we're not seeing the best of Guedes, who came on at the end in the game against Betis. It was 0-0. Rodrigo, who did well with Spain, wasn't so sharp with Valencia. Kondogbia probably will be out of the game against Juventus. Parejo, still not at his best. And we haven't seen the Valencia of last season. A Valencia, of course, was benefited with a physical approach and their intensity by the fact that they actually didn't play more than one competition, but they have to actually do so. And we will see how they keep going at both of them, because right now they started really poorly. They're fourth bottom in La Liga, but I'm sure they raised the game against Juventus. Still, Juventus seems superior right now to Valencia. And what's going on at the Spurs? I'm reading a lot of stories about Harry Kane being on poor form or tired. I don't dispute the fact that actually he has not had what you should have as a professional player to be at your best at the beginning of the season, which is 5 weeks off, 4 of which you have to do exercises to prepare yourself for the season. He hasn't had any of that, but he's had about 20 days off, which is the same as most of the elite players. So you think, why aren't the other elite players affected? Well, if you look at the form of some of them, you would realize, like Modric, like Busquets, like Messi, even Cristiano Ronaldo, if you want to add him there, they haven't been at their best, and it will take them a while in a World Cup year. It does happen. But what happens is that they're surrounded by a lot of very good players, which hides the fact that they're not at their best. In the case of Kane, that doesn't happen. And that doesn't happen because the midfield of Spurs right now are not creating enough. They don't recover the ball early enough. They're not sharp enough in the last pass. And that is affecting Kane. So it's not so much that there's one player that's suffering, it's just that the dynamic of the team is not at its best. If I not remember wrongly, there's always a period, September, October, November, there's always 2-3 weeks in which Spurs suffer. There was in the first season of Kane with Pochettino in charge, I think he spent 10 games without scoring. Does happen that his form doesn't always, he's not always at his best. But what I'm saying here is not so much, it's not Kane's fault. It's a team that has not been able to renew their dynamics, their, as we say, illusion, hope. It's a team that hasn't had the possibility of having new players coming in, demanding a space, and others having to just make sure that they don't fall asleep. There's none of that. There's none of that. And I'm pretty sure that it's not because the coach, the manager didn't want players. I'm sure that like every manager would say, you know, we want these players out, these players in, but none of that happened. So how do you think Pochettino and the rest are taking this? I think, for what I know of them, that they will see it as something to learn from. What happens when you don't renew the side? One thing is clear in my mind. By Pochettino staying at Spurs this season and signing a new contract, he doesn't owe anything to Spurs. And I feel that everybody feels the same. Fans, the media certainly. He doesn't owe anything to Spurs. He's done a lot for them, and vice versa. Spurs have done a lot for Pochettino, who allowed him to build his surroundings, his methodology, and there's been a lot of trust, mutual trust. I just feel that it's going to be a very long season for Spurs, this one, and of course the game against Inter will be another proof that it will be a tough season. It is not the best Inter, so it's an opportunity to make one of those famous European nights. But as I said, it will be a very long season for Spurs, this one. That's it. We'll talk about Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, Valencia and Spurs. So it's time to let you go. Remember, subscribe if you can. Tell everybody that we are here. There will be more things coming your way. Remember that on Fridays we'll be giving you the sound bites of some of the managers in the Premier League. Just clips that haters have allowed us to have. You can go to their YouTube channel as well for the complete press conferences of the weekend. That's always an interesting listen. So, talk to you soon. I'm going to prepare myself for a trip to BT Sport, actually. I'm working for them Tuesday and Wednesday. That's my debut in the Goal Show. Let's see how it goes. Bye.